Have you ever stopped to think about where this idea of a nation, where it actually comes from? I mean, today we just take countries for granted, right? But the world wasn't always carved up like this, not at all. So today we're going to jump back to 19th century Europe to see how this incredibly powerful idea of nationalism was born. And believe me, it's an idea that completely redrew the map and really shaped the entire world we live in.
Just look at this incredible vision from 1848. This is an artist, Frédéric Soriot's dream of what the world could be, a world of democratic republics. You can see all these different peoples from Europe and America marching right past the Statue of Liberty. And down there in the front, those are the shattered crowns and symbols of the old monarchies. It's just such a powerful utopian image of freedom and unity.
But here's the thing. When Soriot painted this, it was total fantasy. Most people back then didn't think of themselves as German or Italian. Nope, they were subjects of a king or an emperor. So that's the big question, isn't it? How did that all change? How on earth did we get from there to here?
To get to the bottom of that, we first have to wrap our heads around what this new idea of a nation really even was.
A really great way to understand it is to look at how the philosopher Ernst Renan put it. He argued that a nation isn't just about sharing a language or living in the same place. No, it's a soul, a spiritual thing. It's about having a shared history of struggles and victories, and a collective desire to keep that story going together. I love this phrase he used. Its existence is a daily plebiscite, like you're all voting every single day to stay a people.
And this comparison just lays out the massive shift perfectly. On one side, you've got the old dynastic empires, like the Habsburg Empire, which were basically just these patchworks of different people, speaking different languages, all held together by loyalty to a single ruler. And on the other side, this brand new idea of the nation-state, where the people themselves, the citizens, are in charge and share a common identity.
So where did this totally radical new idea catch fire? Well, it all kicks off in one place, France.
The French Revolution of 1789. This was it. This was the first clear, explosive expression of nationalism. Suddenly, the king wasn't the sovereign power anymore. The people were. They brought in these concepts like la patrie, the fatherland, and le citoyen, the citizen, to create a new sense of belonging. They got a new flag, the tricolor, wrote new anthems, and created uniform laws for everyone, literally forging a single French nation out of what used to be a kingdom.
And then along comes Napoleon. And man, was he a walking contradiction. As his armies marched all across Europe, they brought these amazing revolutionary ideas with them. Equality before the law, an end to the whole feudal system. But at the same time, as you can see in this German print, they were also seen as foreign invaders. So ironically, his conquests ended up sparking nationalism in the very people he conquered, because they started to define themselves against French rule.
This whole situation just set the stage for a massive conflict that would define the next 50 years. It was a huge tug-of-war between these new revolutionary forces and the old powers that were desperately trying to hang on. So after Napoleon was finally defeated in 1815, all the great powers, we're talking Britain, Russia, Prussia, and Austria, they all got together at the Congress of Vienna. And their main goal? Pretty much to hit the rewind button. They put the old monarchies back in charge and redrew the map of Europe specifically to try and bottle up these dangerous new ideas of nationalism and liberty.
And this slide, wow, it just perfectly captures the mood of the time that followed. The new conservative regimes were completely autocratic. They brought in strict censorship, just like you see in this caricature of a club of thinkers. The number one rule of the club? Silence. Any kind of free expression was seen as a direct threat to their power.
But, you just can't suppress an idea whose time has come. Despite all the repression, the spirit of revolution just kept bubbling up. You had Greece fighting for its independence in the 1820s. France had another revolution in 1830, which set off sparks everywhere else. And then came 1848, the springtime of peoples, when it seriously felt like the entire continent was rising up to demand national freedom.
And this wasn't just about politics. There was this huge cultural movement called Romanticism that was absolutely crucial. Thinkers like Johann Gottfried Herder in Germany argued that the real spirit of a nation, what he called the Volksgeist, was found in its common people. In their folk songs, their poetry, their stories. The famous Grimm brothers, they were part of this whole movement, collecting fairy tales to help build the distinct German cultural identity.
So, after decades and decades of struggle, how were these nations finally built? Well, as we're about to see, the process turned out to be very different from what those early revolutionaries had been hoping for.
So, in 1848, you had all these liberals and middle-class professionals get together at the Frankfurt Parliament. Their goal was to create a unified Germany with a real constitution. It was this beautiful democratic dream. And then, it was crushed. The king they offered the crown to just flat out rejected it. And the old powers, the monarchy and the military, basically sent everyone packing. The whole from the bottom-up approach had failed.
But what happened next? This is the crucial point. The conservatives, the very same people who had been fighting nationalism tooth and nail, they had this powerful realization. They could use it. They basically co-opted all those nationalist feelings to build strong militarized states, not for the people's liberty, but for the state's power.
Just look at the insane transformation in Italy. Before 1858, it was what they called a geographical expression, just a patchwork of different kingdoms, ruled by Austria, the Pope, you name it. But through the clever diplomacy of a guy named Cavour and the military campaigns of another named Garibaldi, it was forged piece by piece into a single, unified country.
And in Germany, the process was even more blunt. It wasn't speeches or votes that united Germany. It was, as its architect Otto von Bismarck famously said, iron and blood. Under his leadership, the powerful Prussian army just fought 3 wars to bring all the German states together under Prussian control. Simple as that.
So, in the end, there was really no single recipe for creating a nation. France did it through this violent, popular revolution. Germany and Italy were forged from the top down by military power. And then you have a place like Great Britain, which evolved over centuries as the dominant English culture slowly but surely suppressed and absorbed the Scots, the Welsh, and the Irish into a new British identity.
So what's the takeaway here? What's the lasting impact of this completely turbulent century of change?
Well, the nation-state became the default model for the entire planet. This idea, which was born in Europe, it gave people a powerful sense of unity and identity. But for better or for worse, it also laid the groundwork for the devastating nationalist rivalries and conflicts of the 20th century. It really fundamentally changed everything.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about. If nationalism was the grand, world-changing idea of the 19th century, it really makes you wonder what powerful, unifying, or maybe dividing idea is going to end up defining our own time.